What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down what Elon Musk just said that's very important for Tesla as we have a new update, what's happening with the big data coming out for tomorrow, which could affect the markets, and what you should be watching for as time goes on the charts. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. And deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. You'll also qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends at the end of July in just about 3 days from now. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with Tesla in the markets. So, as far as the market's going, okay, Tesla's holding up very, very nicely. It's doing a good job at getting bought back up, especially after what Elon Musk just announced. However, before I talk about that, just know this about Tesla stock. We're in a consolidation phase right now, so I'm not really expecting way too much quite yet, as we're getting tighter and tighter and tighter in this wedge. Now, if you want to be a big bull, if you want to see Tesla break out, you need to see us basically break out of this wedge and start looking for an attempt to hit these highs in the 350s. But we need to hold above at the least 330, and then basically that 338 high over here. We need to break this to really break out of this wedge. Now, if we fail to do that, we're going to likely continue to maintain this wedge. So once again, we'd be kind of like trading sideways like this, and then coming back down like this. We bounced today, but if we can't hold above 330, we're looking for a move back down in this wedge and just another consolidation phase before it eventually breaks in one of these directions. Now, when you zoom out of Tesla, you will know that consolidation typically leads to a big expansion in volatility. So, for example, like right here, and even like right here, right? These are some examples. We're very, very tight. We're tight. We're tight. We're tight. Then we see a big move down after that, right? Or right here, we're tight, we're tight, we're tight, we're tight. Then we see a big move right back up. So that's typically what Tesla does as we get tighter and tighter. Right? And you see this throughout the charts. Right here, we were very tight. We got this big sell-off. And there's other instances where we were very tight, like right over here, and we got this big pump. So there's lots of times when Tesla's just very tight when we get a rally, or very tight when we get a sell-off. So I'm just trying to tell you that we're going to be expecting a very big move very soon, possibly in August, once we see more volatility for Tesla stocks. So that's what's happening so far, at least technically speaking. I will go over more details in just a second. Let's first talk about some major news that just came out. I'm going to first start off with what Elon Musk just said. Elon Musk has said that Samsung has a giant new Texas fab, which will be dedicated to making Tesla's new generation AI chip. This is awesome, awesome news. The AI6 chip is going to be made by Samsung. The strategic importance of this is hard to overstate, according to Elon Musk. Samsung currently makes the AI4 chips, and TSMC's will make the AI5 chips. They just finished the design. It's going to be initially in Taiwan and then Arizona. So that's some very, very big news for Tesla. Right here, Musk said that Samsung agreed to allow Tesla to assist in maximizing manufacturing efficiency. This is a critical point, as I will walk the line personally to accelerate the pace of progress. Once again, awesome news. Very, very great stuff for Tesla. So there was a lot of scrutiny that Tesla was getting about this potential deal. It signed a $16.5 billion deal with Samsung to manufacture its next AI chips. That's why we saw a bit of a bounce in at least Tesla stock. Now, the scrutiny that came, was because many different mainstream articles were saying that this deal was not going to happen. Samsung's losing too much money. Samsung can't get involved in the chip business. And once again, Tesla is proving those headlines wrong, as Samsung's going to be making a historical comeback. So this is great news for Tesla, once again helping them to advance their chips. Once again, it's a great partnership, and I'm very excited for what the future holds with this. That's why we saw Tesla bounce quite a bit. It's up 3% for the day, and we're going to see if it breaks resistance or not, at least moving forward. That's the main headline that came out. Despite this, China Renaissance, they gave Tesla a hold rating. GLJ research, they're giving Tesla a sell rating. So we still have very, very nuanced ratings. Some analysts are saying sell Tesla, others are saying hold your Tesla. After we just got earnings, of course, there's mixed views because earnings were not that great for Tesla. The long term is still very solid, but the short term does still have some concerns because of, issues with their manufacturing process to get, the levels of scalability that we're initially looking for, it could take a little bit longer than previously expected to do certain things like scale Optimus or even like get the robo-taxi to get past regulations. And Elon Musk said there's going to be some hard quarters ahead, but despite that, once we get to that expansionary phase, things are going to be much better for Tesla. We just have to give it some time, according to Elon Musk. On Tuesday, Tesla's known for being green about 51.54% of the times historically on Tuesdays, and it tends to be a high volatility at 11 o'clock a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's what's going on with Tesla. We're still in this consolidation phase, and there's going to be a big test. I want to see Tesla break and hold 330 to push higher. If we can, we're looking for a retest of essentially 316. So please keep those levels in mind as Tesla's getting tighter and tighter. What could happen is that if we don't break resistance, we could continue to consolidate until we see one of these directions break either up or down. But I do expect a very, very big move once we're done with this consolidation. We're going to see when that ends up happening. So please keep that in mind. Tomorrow it's going to be another big day because it's going to be Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. Okay. At 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the JOLTS job openings and job quits report. And then at 10:30 a.m., we have the Dallas Fed services numbers. Expect some volatility tomorrow at 10 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. just to be safe. I do expect some volatility for Tesla as well, so be ready for that. For other tickers, we have SoFi and PayPal announcing their earnings alongside Boeing. And on Wednesday, we have Meta and Microsoft. On Thursday, we have Amazon and Apple. So get ready for some high volatility once all this data comes out. It's going to be very, very interesting. So be ready for all of that, especially SoFi and PayPal tomorrow. Nothing too crazy yet until we get to Wednesday and Thursday for the big tech earnings. So with that being said, the current catalysts are quite neutral for Tesla so far. We'll see what news comes out for tomorrow. We're going to see if Tesla could break 330. As of right now, it looks like it might reject you. So I think the odds do favor the downside move a bit more unless we get some really, really good news. Now, when it comes to President Trump, we have some major updates that came out involving his tariffs. I'm going to keep this kind of quick. First and foremost, President Trump had announced a lot of reciprocal tariffs. Now he's saying that he wants to set a tariff rate of about 15 to 20% for the large majority of products after we just signed a lot of deals. He's saying that he's also going to be giving out letters to set the tariff rates for 200 different countries. And then these are the quotes from President Trump. He said that the baseline tariff rate for the world is going to be in the range of 15 to 20%, probably one of those two numbers. He also said this days before the August 1st tariff deadline for every country except for China. And then he said that we're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business with the USA, because you can't sit down and make 200 deals, according to President Trump. That's what he said so far. That's very important news. Now we're looking for a baseline tariff of 15 to 20%. Then President Trump had been talking about how, we can't be making 200 deals. If countries want to do business with the US, they have to pay their fair share. That's what he essentially said. And then he was very, very stern about that. President Trump then was talking about how he's not happy with Russia because he claims that, they're not making progress on their peace treaty. And then he also mentioned that he may have to end the deadline early on Russia so that they could, negotiate peace early on. He's threatening high tariffs on Brazil unless they make a deal. And then he also talked about how we may be giving China more time and that they're making good progress in making their deal. He also talked about how there's going to be a lot of deals coming very soon. He's very confident in his tariffs, bringing in billions of dollars in revenue in his opinion. Of course, I'm going to be very unbiased when I say this. There's going to be good and bad effects of the tariffs, right? They're going to bring in revenue, but simultaneously, we'll see what else ends up coming, such as the effects on the economy. But I can't say too much until we see what officially happens, as the tariffs could be subjected to change. China and the U.S. are negotiating. The deadline for China has been extended until August 12th, and we'll see how things go if President Trump meets up with Xi Jinping. There's been some talk about that. And India and many other countries are scrambling for deals before the deadlines. So as a reminder, let me just pull up this picture. President Trump is basically using leverage to our advantage, right? At least that's his strategy. He knows that the U.S. has a lot of leverage over other countries, and he's willing to threaten these very, very high tariffs. This incentivizes the countries to make deals with the U.S. An example is the European Union. He threatened high tariffs on them. They made a deal and got 15% tariffs, and that's what he's trying to do with other countries as well, using leverage. Now, whether you like the tactic or not, it's up to you guys to decide that, but that's what he's still trying to do. And I say this because a lot of the notions about President Trump's tariffs may not be 100% fixated yet. We don't know what's going to happen in a couple of weeks, a couple of days. Things could still be subjected to change, so keep that in mind. There is still some uncertainty. So, with that being said, we got some updates from President Trump about the tariffs. He wants a baseline tariff, and some deals should be coming. I'm going to be looking at an Indian deal. I'm seeing a lot of news about that, and it's been going on for a while, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, Tesla's like this, going back and forth between supply and demand. We're going to be watching to see how it goes from right here. So, with this consolidation, if you're bullish tomorrow, if you want to be a big bull on Tesla, you want to see it break out, here's what you're essentially looking for. You want to see Tesla basically hold above the 330 area. If we basically break and hold 330, we're looking for an attempt to break back up towards the 350 plus range for more potential upside. But if you're a big bear on Tesla, if you want to see Tesla get a big rejection, we need to see Tesla basically fail at 316. If that fails us, we could be turning right back down towards this lower trend line, acting as a support. Now, in all honesty with everyone, I'm going to be 100% unbiased when I say this. We have to watch for anything because you never know what the data is going to cause that comes out for tomorrow and what the news will say about Tesla. But as of right now, I do notice a very common pattern, right? We like to reject, and reject off this trend line. So we could be looking for a rejection on Tesla if we don't hold above 330. So I'm going to be very blunt about that. I want to see us get back above 330. If not, we could be looking for a move back down towards 316, if not as low as 310. So there might be a small dip coming. I think Tesla's going to retest these EMAs in that 316 to 315 range. We'll see if we bounce again. But for now, the honest truth is that Tesla is in a consolidation and we're setting ourselves up for a very big move in the future. We're just not ready yet. So we're not ready yet for a massive, massive move. And we have to give Tesla some time. We're consolidating. This might come down a bit for that 315 area. That's what I think is going to likely happen. Then we'll see if we bounce or not. Despite Tesla kind of like behaving like that and kind of consolidating, this happened as a result of earnings because earnings did not cause a massive, massive, massive breakout. We're still kind of in our range. But for SPY, we're bullish. And this could be a little good for Tesla. Every time we're hitting our EMAs, we're bouncing, and we're favoring a bounce all over again. Now, if you want to be a bear, just hypothetically speaking, we need to see SPY basically lose 634 to 635. If that fails us, we're looking for a dump. But if we're bullish, you want to see us bouncing and continue to push for 640 to once again break all-time highs. So I think the odds do favor upside. Overall, I think SPY is doing a good job, and as long as we hold critical support, we could consolidate and start pushing for 640 plus. On the QQQ, we're making higher highs and higher lows. If we end up losing basically this 566 area, we're looking for a dump back down towards 561. And as long as we hold support above this trend line, we're looking more bullish. Also, the QQQ is currently only 1 point away from all-time highs. So we're favoring a move like this, a slowly climbing for essentially 570, then 572. As long as 565 to 566 does not fail us, we're favoring new all-time highs on the QQQ. On the IWM Russell 2000, we need to lose basically 222.9 to dump. We need to break 225 to bounce. I do think it consolidates a bit, but this could still try to bounce with SPY in the QQQ if we get a good move. Looking for a move right back up towards these highs. We're still looking quite solid, in my opinion. For ES, we're looking bullish. Notice that the green trend line is acting as support. We're bouncing off this. We need to lose basically 64.14 to 6400 to dump back down to the 6300s. But as long as we hold that support, we're going to be favoring basically an attempt for all-time highs on ES. My gut tells me this is going to be going for all-time highs again. On NQ, if we lose 23,440, we're looking for a dump back down. But as long as we hold support here, we're going to likely be favoring an attempt to go for 23,600 or above. I think we're still looking quite bullish. On Bitcoin, if we end up losing basically 117,500, we're looking for a dump back down towards 116,800. If we break past 119,000, we're looking for a big bounce. I am concerned about this head and shoulders like pattern. I think it could dip just a bit and retest 117,500. We'll see if we bounce or not. So keep that in mind just to see how things end up going. For Tesla, like I said before, guys, there's a tough resistance at this white trend, and I need to see us break that to be bullish. And as of right now, we just keep rejecting off it, so we do favor a move back down to the EMAs around 315. Once again, don't worry, we're just consolidating for now, but there's going to be a bigger move later on around like August. We just have to give it some time. On the other hand, what's really helping the QQQ is Nvidia. It's very strong. It's helping semiconductors. We started off with the dip, then just bounced and broke all-time highs. As long as we don't lose 174, we're favoring 178 and 180. We look very, very bullish. Apple's looking quite good. If we end up losing basically 213, we're looking for 212. If we break past 215, we're looking for a bounce. So I'm favoring consolidation and eventually an attempt to push back up to about 216. So far, we're doing a great job. For Netflix, I think we're doing well here. We have a nice looking double bottom like structure. If we break 1188, we're looking for a bounce. If we lose support, we're looking for a dump. So I think we might hold support here and try to bounce for closer to 1200. We're still holding up well. MSTR looks a little weaker. I think we're going to be testing 397. If we can't hold 400, we'll see if we bounce. Might see a little bit more downside, just to be very, very frank. For others out there, we also happen to have Celsius. This might be coming back down towards this 46.05 area, and we'll see if we bounce off this or not. So watch that very, very closely. Supermicro is following NVIDIA's footsteps. It's basically all of the semiconductors following the same trend, right? We're still making higher highs and higher lows. And I think that so long as we don't lose 58 right here, we're still favoring 62.5 or above. Supermicro looks quite bullish. Palantir is favoring the high again. As long as we don't lose 155, I do think we might consolidate here. We could be looking for an attempt for 161. Rivian, if we lose 13.6, we're looking for a bigger dump to about 12.95. But I think that the odds favor this coming down to about 13.6 and trying to bounce because we're holding support quite well. So please keep that in mind. For SoFi, I'm in the middle with this. So we have a head and shoulders. If we lose 20, we're looking for a dump towards 18. If we break 22, we're looking for a bounce. Sometimes these are traps for retail, so anything can happen depending on earnings. Never be way too fixated on one direction after earnings, or before earnings. I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow morning, but there is a head and shoulders, so I'm somewhat concerned. So keep that in mind. AMD is looking bullish. As long as we don't lose 170, we're favoring 178 to 180. I think we look very solid, very bullish on AMD and for our chip stocks, which is leading the QQQ higher. For 168, it looks like a good target on ARM. As long as we don't lose 161, we're favoring more upside. So I think we're looking quite solid. And by the way, for Apple, I just wanted to say that we're also consolidating right now. We're still stuck in the middle, going back and forth between supply and demand. As long as we don't lose 212, I do think that we just kind of consolidate until earnings. There's not really much going on with this. Like I said about PayPal, we're holding up quite well. As long as you don't lose this support right over here around 77.39, I think we consolidate to start pushing for 80. Coinbase may be dipping back down to 366, and we'll see if we bounce. Might be some downside for 370 to 366. Amazon's looking more bullish. As long as we don't lose 230, we're going to be favoring 235 as a potential target. So I do see some upside potential. However, it might consolidate, come back down to fill this gap first before it starts bouncing for these highs. It's still technically bullish, but it might come down first. Of course, it also depends on earnings. For other tickers out there, we have Meta. Meta is holding up quite well right now. When I was looking back at the charts, we're still trying to make higher highs and higher lows, and I think we're doing a fantastic job so far, so keep that in mind. So long as we don't lose this 710 area, we're still holding up. I think this may consolidate to start pushing back up for basically 723. Once again, forming an inverse head and shoulders looking for the 720s. I think it's doing a fantastic job, at least thus far. Google is essentially consolidating. It's a little weak here. We're going to see if 191.8 holds. If not, we could be dipping to 190. If we break past 195, we're looking for a bounce, but this is still favoring downside. Microsoft is looking good. As long as we don't lose 511, we're going to be favoring 515. I think we're doing a great job. The VIX looks a little bit more bearish to me. I think it's still rejecting, not looking that strong. This is still favoring the downwards direction as the market still looks bullish. The 10 years in the middle, it might reject. We're going to see what it does depending on FOMC. The dollar is also pushing, and so is crit. It's kind of stuck here, so we have to give this some time. So with that being said, guys, I mean, I think the overall market could still bounce and retest all-time highs and break them on SPY and the QQQ. But Tesla, of all things, is not really at all-time highs, which shows that it's not as strong as the markets overall. And we're more of in a consolidation phase. We're more in a consolidation phase for Tesla. We're kind of stuck for now. So we're going to see what this ends up doing. So keep that in mind for the time being. I'm going to be very unbiased when saying that. With that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow before the market opens. Tesla's still holding up well despite this consolidation, and we'll see what ends up happening. Have a really, really awesome rest of your guys' days, and I'll be back very soon tomorrow morning before market open to give you guys another very, very good update about what's happening with Tesla. Keep in mind that Tesla's also a very news-dependent stock, so sometimes unexpected pieces of news could come out. So you want to be very careful with it. But for now, just know that this is just a temporary phase we're in, and the long term is still very bright for the company, looking at their growth in AI and robotics. I can't wait to see what the future holds for Tesla, but just know that we are in a consolidation phase for now, and we'll give it some time. Until I see you guys again tomorrow, I wish you all nothing but the best, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you again for listening. Have a good one, and peace out.